All right, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Saved by the Bellerin, the Arsenal football podcast here on the Sports Talk Line Network, or should I say the podcast of the new and again FA champion Arsenal Football Club podcast here on the Sports Talk Line Network. Joining you as always from the United States, I'm Raphael, and we have the full contingent from London, top to bottom. Sam, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Champions as always. Come on.
Yes, and below Ryan. Ryan, welcome back.
Campeones, campeones, ole, ole, ole.
And holding up the stack is Dean. Welcome back, Dean.
Hello, mate. Great to be here, and great result on Saturday. Loving it.
Yes, when we left you, we were seconds away from kickoff. Actually, these guys didn't clue me in. I'm getting the American feed that was belated, so they didn't tell me the kickoff had gone. They ran away. Fortunately, probably for me, I missed the early Chelsea goal. Chelsea put Arsenal in the hole. All of you who watched know. 5 minutes in, Christian Pulisic worked with Olivier Giroud to put our boys down 1-0. But very different tenor, very different character with this club under Mikel Arteta. They rallied, they gathered themselves, they took a water break, and then they came back and played what the manager called the best 30 minutes they played all year. Ryan, I'm going to start with you because in the pre-game, we talked about Ainsley Maitland-Niles being the peculiar sub, the most eyebrow-raising. You talked about his benefits. He factored very much in that comeback, that late first half rally.
Yeah, but mainly because I'm watching Chelsea and United tried to play like that against them in semi-final, and they had Brandon Williams do that against Reece James, and they had some success with it, but obviously United aren't just that good around the pitch to give Chelsea problems. But Maitland-Niles, I said it before the game, he'll probably tuck in to make a three-man midfield when we're attacking. And he did. And Reece James followed him all the way, which left Aubameyang 1v1 against Azpilicueta, which then what we saw, which I also said Lacazette would drop in and it would give Aubameyang literally 1v1 whole of that pitch. And that's how we got the first goal.
Yeah, as we call just a minute prior to that, Niles factored in a setup with Aubameyang and Nico Pepe, but he jumped the gun. He was about a foot offside, and we're all groaning. But within 60 seconds, Sam, what Ryan pointed out, Kieran Tierney took the ball from deep in his own half, long ball over the top, wide open side. Aubameyang beats Azpilicueta, draws a penalty, and the plan worked.
Yeah, absolutely. And all the way through, they literally tried to target that side, in my opinion. The penalty, there's a lot of debate around the penalty, but for me, it was a stonewaller. He's got hold of him inside the box. What more do you want? It seems that Mikel also, what I've noticed through the game, is getting us to get the minimal contact fouls as well. So we see so many teams do it against us. There's a little tap to them and they fall to the floor and get the foul. Now, I think it was at half-time, Chelsea had what? We had 9 fouls to their 0. So in terms of that, the dark arts, as people say, that's kind of working. And obviously we saw with the red card in the second half that, again, minimal, but it worked. It's that kind of shithousery that this team has lacked for a very, very long time. And it's actually great for us to have that in our arsenal as well. Obviously, some say the injuries to Chelsea changed the game. In a way, it did. Pulisic was by far their most dangerous player. And then, really, they didn't have an answer for us.
He was their one speedy player, and we caught a break at the beginning of the second half where he kind of sprinted down the left side, got past Rob Holding, and did his hamstring. They were all kind of breathing a sigh of relief. Very gutty play on his part. He tried to make the kick when he was already pulling up and decided to follow through. And and just pulled it about a foot wide. So, there's a break there. But I want to go back to your point, Sam. We're talking about the dark arts. I was following the match even during the match and after the match. A lot of grumbling from the Chelsea partisans about, the refereeing. Bit of a relief to be on the other side of that. I mean, usually we're the ones grumbling about that kind of thing.
Yeah, most definitely. And also, if you notice, we're the ones that are hounding the referee as well. Because remember back in the day, we was always had our players in the referee's face going, you need to give this, you need to give this, you need to give this and whatnot. And it's like, that has gone missing from Arsenal's games far too often. And it's so easy for the other team to sway the referee in that instance. So just putting a bit of pressure on the referees to make the decisions in terms of an Arsenal favour, it's something that's going to be beneficial. Also, the only thing is that it can be a double-edged sword sometimes. But if you do it smartly, then hey, it's there to be used. Add it to your game. It just gives you a little bit of another dimension. Some people might not like it, but unfortunately, it's a part of the game. So, yeah, if you got it, use it.
It was a bit of an adjustment, and I recall there was a moment early in the first half when one of their players committed a foul on Xhaka, and you saw the Arsenal players surround him waving the card, and it brings back memories. We saw that with Barcelona. Obviously, we saw that. We've seen it with Guardiola at Man City. Obviously, we know Arteta was there, and I thought, oh wow, that's we're usually on the other side of that, but we seem to be picking that up, and that might not be the worst habit to be developing. All right, Dean, we're going to bring you in here at a minor technical squabble. Second half, though, we talked about the first half hurting Chelsea, and obviously hurt them decisively for the second goal, but the goal was started by a run from deep from Hector Bellerin, and he and Dani Ceballos on the right side provided some balance, and Nico Pepe as well, let's say, especially in the second half.
Oh, yeah. I think there's no doubt that these guys are clicking together now. I mean, we were wondering who was going to be partnering Pepe, who was going to have that connection with Pepe at the right back. And, previously, and we were looking at Cedric, and we were looking at even Ainsley Maitland-Niles. But during that game, I mean, that run from Hector, the connection between him and Pepe, I think, was visible for that game. And Ceballos, I mean, we've said it a few times, and we've been saying it since, and we've been saying it before we came on here. His progression has been nothing short of brilliant. When he first came, there was some debate about whether or not we'd want to keep him after this season, whether we'd even want to keep him for the rest of the season. But no, he is definitely, I mean, for me personally, he was probably one of three, I would say, could be called man of the match for that game. But that connection and that run, and then the audacity of Aubameyang, because I think he said, I can't remember who said, he said one of them knows him, was it Rudiger or someone, knows he's right-footed. And you can even hear it if you watch the replays. They tell Zuma to get on his right side because he's right-footed. And he cuts it across to his left and pops it in because he knew what was going to happen. The audacity, it was beautiful, though. That second half, I think, I don't think I was worried at all watching it, personally.
Ryan, a lot of elation. Obviously, all of us are ecstatic. They won the cup. They're in Europa League, and the ramifications of that is the rest of the show. We got so many transfer stories teed up for you, but let's finish. Again, I want to talk about the elation, but I also want to talk about the relief. This was a ragtag bunch that Arteta held together with duct tape and glue for the last 12 games, on this run. He got him a cup, and looking at it as we all exhaled, as we all, celebrated, there's still a sense of we got away with one. What's missing from this club as we were about to dive into the transfers? What did you see from them as they walked off the pitch and said, okay, never again do I want to see that?
The lack of creativity. It's a common thing for us now. Every time we come on here, it's like, oh, we lack someone who can create chances. And it's every game. And I think the final showed that because Chelsea aren't great at the back, but we struggle to create many good, clear-cut chances. And yeah, it can be down to the formation. It can be quite defensive, but if you play it right, it could be very good attacking-wise, as you see with Inter Milan and Borussia Dortmund. I think we need a strong base of midfield as well. I like Ceballos and I like Xhaka, but we need someone with a bit more energy, and a built person, basically Thomas Partey, and someone who can actually grab the ball and run up the pitch with it. Because although Ceballos can do that, he's not very fast or very strong when he's on the ball. So someone like that, I think we need a leader at the back, someone who can make himself heard, make himself known against strikers as well. I think that's, from what I saw, I think that's what we need.
All right, Sam, you're going to finish us off here. We're all celebrating. We're watching, Aubameyang put in a sterling performance. His manager was saying you need the big player in the big match, and he stepped up. And everybody's saying, will he or won't he? A lot of teasing this morning about his status. Where are you now on the likelihood of him staying at Arsenal Football Club?
As I've maintained over the course of the last couple of months, really, I think that it's literally at completion stage now. Dave Manager, I think his name is, of Twitter, he said that Aubameyang's reps was at London Colney this morning. I don't think that was there for talks. I think that was there to just look over the final paperwork. So they are literally ready for Aubameyang to sign it. As we've discussed previously regarding the photos that come out, regarding the pictures with Ian Wright beforehand, and then the white smoke around Thierry Henry's statue, from all the pre-FA Cup videos, I didn't see any of that action in there. So that would also lead me to see that would be for Aubameyang's announcement video, potentially. As I said, it would take probably about a week for that to be filmed, edited, get the final sign-off. So I reckon that's been done now. With the reps turning up today, that to me signals final paperworks. Dotting the I's, crossing the T's. All it's waiting for is Aubameyang to sign. So I reckon it could be imminently. I reckon it could probably be tomorrow, possibly. Sticking my neck out on the line there, I'd say tomorrow. But okay. I don't know. That's just my guess, but we'll see how it goes. But I think that, yeah, he's definitely going to be staying.
Okay. All right. So, all right, folks, grab on for the runaway train that's going to be Arsenal rumors. We've got at least 10 of them to discuss. Got my theme. I'm going to hold that up for just a second because, Dean, you saw a story pop up just in the minutes before we came on the pod. I'm going to let you start with this. From Spain, apparently the new Villarreal coach, Unai Emery, is very interested in bringing the man that he wanted at the center of his Arsenal midfield, Matteo Guendouzi, to come to Spain with him.
Yeah, this has just come from a journalist on Foot Mercato that Unai is interested, and apparently there's talks between. It says between the parties. I don't know if that means between Guendouzi's reps and Villarreal or the clubs. However, something else that I've just actually come across just not long before you asked me here is that the talks right now are in discussions about a loan with purchase option. I know you and I before we came on here were saying, would Villarreal be able to afford the asking price that Arsenal put out there? They want a loan with option. Personally, I'd say give us Pau Torres, give us Samuel Chukwueze. They're both rated at 24 and 27 respectively. And we'll give you Guendouzi and be done with it. Can't see that happening though. So yeah, I mean, I'm not too fond of a loan with option, but loan with obligation perhaps. But that's apparently what's being discussed right now between the parties.
If nothing else, it creates a market. We've seen reports that other clubs in Spain, bigger clubs, he's been kicked around and deals with Juve and Barca, and we thought, okay, that we've read the clubs valued him somewhere around 35 million. He's got value, and yes, it does seem Villarreal's not really the kind of club that can throw that kind of cash around. But as you said, there are other options, and if nothing else, having them in play might bring other teams to the table. All right, let's talk about the big rumor of the day, and I'm going to start by taking the L on this one because I've probably been the biggest skeptic on the site about this. Is that it does appear that Willian is coming to Arsenal. After talks that he was trying to negotiate a new contract with Chelsea. There were other clubs interested. He might be going to Spain. He seems to be always linked with Barcelona. It does seem that Arsenal was, in fact, the team that was interested in him, and that Arteta's talk about wanting a wide man was for Willian. I just thought, given his age and his contract, that was not a possibility. But it does really seem that he's looking at 3 years with Arsenal, with, if nothing else, keeping his 120,000 per week salary. That's very rich. And, I have to say, thinking about it, I'm not that hurt by being wrong on this one, because what that does tell me, if Arsenal's willing to spend that kind of money on a player like Willian, given his age and his salary demands, money is not going to be an option. I mean, that's something we've been saying here for a while. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the money. And obviously, he's coming on a free. They're not going to have to splash out anything in transfer for him. But still, that commitment, that term commitment, that obligation, it tells me other deals are in the offing. And it does seem, let's go to you, Sam, that if there's a theme in this first few days of the window post FA Cup, there is a Brazilian flavor to all the moves that Arsenal's looking at. Willian obviously being one, but more rumors today that Gabriel Magalhães from Lille is very much back on Arsenal's radar. We heard a week ago that Napoli was after him. We heard earlier last week Everton had made a 30 million euro bid for him. We heard, we were discussing it on the pod, that Man United was also in discussion. And then a fourth mystery club emerged. That club is Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's a transfer that involves Napoli and that involves an unnamed club, you can pretty much guarantee that club is Arsenal. Raul Sanelli has a very, very good and close relationship with two members of the Lille transfer team and their board. So in terms of that, it makes an Arsenal deal more plausible. There was a unconfirmed report come out today saying that we've tabled a £32 million package deal for Gabriel today. So with that, we'll see how that develops in the next couple of days. But we have got a package deal that trumps everybody else's. I think it was Man United had something like 27, Everton was 22, 23. But if we're saying 32 as a package deal, I think it's going to probably be around 25 million euros. And then the rest of it will be add-ons that will be performance-based, competition-based. So in terms of that deal, for us, that's a bargain for Gabriel. And we would be getting a centre-back that ticks all the boxes for us. And also, Raf, just to add something I've just seen regarding Willian, Arsenal's got a partnership with PES, the football game. And apparently, in the clip that Arsenal tweeted out today with their partnership, it's got Willian in the Arsenal kit walking out of the Emirates. And in another section of that video, it says, "Welcome to the Emirates." So have they just accidentally leaked Willian's signing? I think they probably just have.
Well, again, something else to look for if you all, or those of you who are following us, go and look for that. Ryan, let's bring you in, though, because there was another name. And let me just add what you said, Sam. Even though, as you said, it might be a bargain to get Gabriel for 32 million euros, that's still a good chunk of change. He's not the only player they're after. Arsenal linked with another player far more expensive, Diego Carlos, another center back from Sevilla. Ryan, we haven't discussed him on the pod. We've been discussing other targets, but he would be a very tasty person for Arsenal to pursue. First, assess his game if you would quickly, but also I want you to weigh him in context as an alternative or as a complement. Is Arsenal going for it, or might they go for both of these guys? What seems like one's left-sided, one's right-sided.
To summarize Diego Carlos up, he's top 3 centre-back in La Liga this season. Statistically, he's big, very strong, quick. He doesn't lose the ball in the air. He wins absolutely everything, and he's just an absolute monster. He literally wins everything. Real Madrid struggled to score against him. Barcelona struggled to score against him, mainly because of this guy. He's got a £68 million release clause, which doesn't sound like Arsenal, but if we can get creative, as Bellerin's been linked with them previously, I can see Monty potentially wanting Guendouzi. We could potentially see a swap deal there, maybe. But yeah, I think he would be a good complement to Gabriel and Saliba, because he's got that necessary experience in playing in a top league, and he's still quite young. So while they're learning the game, because I go back to it every time I say Arsene Wenger used to say a player hasn't learnt the game until he's 23 or 24. So neither Saliba or Gabriel are that age yet. So if we can pick up Diego Carlos and potentially lose some of our centre-backs, I think he would be a great pickup. I know he's expensive, but sometimes you just have to pay the price to get back to where we need to be.
And again, it just seems Arsenal has the will now, that winning this cup really just kind of opened up, and I wrote a piece about this, that when their manager, when their coach proves, a KSE organization's coach proves he's worthy of the investment, they seem to make it. It looks like winning that cup really just changed everything. The willingness, let's just say, of the club to invest in Mikel Arteta. So I'm with you. I wouldn't rule both of these guys out.
Yeah, I said it earlier in the group chat. I said, but on Friday Arsenal were broke, and then on Monday we're being linked with everybody.
Yeah,
but we was loud and proud about it, saying we have the money, we have it. It's just whether they see the potential in Arteta and if they want to back him properly. I don't think that he's given them any doubt now. He is the man to take us forward. He's shown that he has an effective system or systems for the players we have. So imagine the players that he wants coming in. So I think they're back in big time.
All right, Dean, let's move a little farther forward. Another big name, another big rumor popped out immediately. We've been speculating about it. Chatter's been out on social media, in the papers about this guy for a while. But once the final was over, the name of Coutinho came back up firmly. Lots of negotiation now, lots of sources that Arsenal and Barcelona have been in talks for a long time, different depending on where you read. He's been offered for $9 million. He could be a loan, moving target, but it seems he is a priority player for Mikel Arteta to be that creative player at the front of the midfield that Ryan was talking about, the guy who can get the ball and just with the ball on his feet attack a defense and feed a front line. I want you to take it in two parts, though. Coutinho in, and that probably means Mesut Ozil out.
Yeah. Okay. So, we'll start with the Coutinho in. Obviously, as you mentioned, there's been a lot of talk regarding him. It sort of slowed down at one point when it was said that he wanted to wait until his Champions League run with Bayern Munich had come to an end. But then suddenly, again, very similarly to pretty much every other transfer that's occurred, that since we won the FA Cup and qualified for the group stages of the Europa League, there's been a lot more talk. As you say, there's this nominal fee or whatever you call it of 9 million with a swap transfer with someone like Guendouzi. There's been talk of a loan, which is apparently the primary option that's going ahead now. But the latest talk is Barca definitely want him sort of gone for the coming season, which bodes well for Arsenal, I believe. Now, having said that, the next part, obviously, with Mesut Ozil, yeah, I think we can sort of safely say if Coutinho is being brought in, Ozil's on his way out. He is that creative link. He is that player that will probably take that role, the attacking mid, the 10, whatever you want to call it. He's that channel, or he could play on that left side of the two up there in midfield. And I don't feel, you've obviously seen what Arteta has done with Ozil after the COVID break. And I feel there's definitely no place for him now. And the last we've heard, he was sent to Turkey while the FA Cup final was being played. Him and Guendouzi were sent early on their holidays. They were wanted nowhere near, for lack of a better way of putting it, and not to be disrespectful, but nowhere near the club. So for me, I feel this one's a good one. I feel Coutinho in, but Ozil's, I think he's gone. I don't think we'll see him this season.
All right, Sam, let's keep the rumors moving. Player in, player out. Another player we'd speculated about could be shaky ground as far as his Arsenal future. Stories this morning from Italy that there may be a market for Lucas Torreira there, that I believe it's Torino. His old manager is taking the job there and is interested in bringing his old player back. We haven't talked about Marc Roca for in a couple of weeks, but he's a guy who comes up and goes down, comes up and goes down. But if a player like Lucas Torreira is going out, it almost seems like there's kind of a rotation. There's a kind of a swap in play with those two names, and those are certainly two names to watch in tandem with each other.
Yeah, most definitely, because at the end of the day, they play a similar position. Marc Roca would definitely be an upgrade on Lucas Torreira. If the new manager wants to make him a centrepiece at Torino, they're going to have to pay for him, obviously. So again, that would be a good chunk of change for us. Lucas he's had a mixed bag at Arsenal. If this was to be his season where he departs, I wouldn't be too unhappy about it. I definitely would say we have to bring in Marc Roca to replace him, though, because obviously having done the piece on him and also watching him, he would just offer this midfield so much as well. As I've said before, he's a quicker Busquets, in my opinion. Along with Partey, that would then free Partey to go forwards. As we know as well, there's been numerous reports saying that Mikel Arteta wants both coming out of Spain as well. So I think Marc Roca is one that the two clubs have spoken to each other previously before COVID. They'll be speaking to each other after, and we are at the front of the queue in terms of the teams that want him, in my opinion. So Marc Roca, if Torreira goes, I think we'll definitely be seeing him.
And let's just stay with that for just a little bit longer, because if we look at the money, it's important. We talk about, the club is a bit freer with its money, but given the release clause that's been kicked about, or the fee that it would take to get Roca, it's not that expensive. And we would think that if Lucas is wanted, considering Arsenal paid for him, there probably is a good match as far as what one could bring could be spent on the others. There's no real net spend there, or very, very little.
To be perfectly honest with you, Ref, I think we'd probably end up in profit if we sold Torreira and brought Marc Roca in. I think there was reports saying that Milan offered, I think, what was it, about 16 million euros. So if they've set the benchmark around that price, even if he went to, say, 20 million euros, I'd be more than happy to do that, because you're getting a gem for a player on an absolute bargain. Lucas Torreira, you could probably say you get about 30 million euros for him. So, dependent on, obviously, the Italian club's money situation, there's definitely a market for him there, regardless where he goes in Italy. But I think, we can get around 30 million euros for him and spend probably maximum of 25 million euros for Marc Roca. We're laughing, absolutely laughing.
So profit on the pitch and profit in the bank account.
Most
all right, let's talk about another player. He And we've talked about this in the group. We should probably talk about it here. One of the things that Mikel Arteta did, in addition to raising the value, the performance on the pitch, and obviously getting the cup, is that he raised the transfer value of a lot of these guys. Let's talk about Alexander Lacazette. We were talking about him being a bad fit, but we also know that down the stretch, if you want to keep him or you want to move him on, he scored a lot of big goals and a lot of big games against big clubs, Ryan. Rumors today that Juventus, it's come back. That was a rumor that was there a couple weeks ago, went cold, but now that the cup is over, it's hotted up again. Juventus is looking at Alexander Lacazette. Apparently, he's interested in them as well. So let's kick a couple of topics around. What's the market for him? What's the possible return for him? And, here's the topic we've talked about again, but if it's real, let's talk about it now. If Arsenal moves Lacazette, do they need to go out and get another traditional striker? Or would that just clog space for moving Aubameyang to the center? Obviously, we've talked about Edouard in the past. Is that a name that comes back? Are there others that we should bring back into the discussion?
I think, to answer your first question, we could possibly get 35 to 45 million for Lacazette, I believe, because he does have a very good track record of scoring big goals in big games. You just have to go Liverpool, Spurs, Wolves in the last 5 weeks. So he does score big goals, but I think he just hinders the way we play and the way Arteta wants to play. I don't personally think we need to go out and buy a replacement, because he's going to push Aubameyang inside, because he keeps mentioning the balance of the team. And we all know Aubameyang is not a winger. He's a goal scorer. And all you have to do is see how he drifts inside. He's in the 6-yard box all the time. So push him inside, bring in a winger in. That's how I would do it. But if we are to go down the road of a replacement, Edouard would be the ready-made Lacazette replacement. He's a younger, more clinical version. He scored a hat-trick yesterday. Was it yesterday or Sunday? He's got a hat-trick this weekend for Celtic, so he would be my replacement if we are to go down that road.
Well, let me ask you another question about this, because, again, we're linked with a bunch of wide players. Willian obviously being the latest, the biggest name, but we're going to talk about Jolson in a little bit. He's a wide player. Brentford is playing right now. You can kind of see our eyes glancing. We're following the match. Ben Rama there has been mentioned as a possible target for Arsenal, another wide player. But I was watching some video. We have this forgotten guy who got us all jazzed up, and then he hurt his knee during the COVID break. We didn't see him. I don't think we saw him at all after the break. Gabriel Martinelli. And I was watching some video clips of him over the weekend, and just remembered, this guy scores a lot of goals in the box with his head. He can score both ways. Is that a guy who you project in the future as a central player, given that he can score either way with his head or with his feet?
Yeah, I think he's more suited to the number 9 role, because you look at most of his goals, I think barring the Chelsea goal, I think he scored mostly in the box. So
yeah,
I think he'd be more suited to the number 9 role than he would on the wing. And just to say about the winger position, I read today that Mikel Arteta likes the City way of playing, which they have a wide player more as a playmaker. So you see, for City, they'd have Sterling, Aguero, Bernardo Silva, who drops in and creates free playmakers. So then you have De Bruyne, David Silva, Bernardo Silva, which would actually go with having Willian on the left, because then you have Pepe can go how he likes to play in the box, Aubameyang in the box, and then you have Willian, Coutinho, and whoever else is going to come in between the lines. Maybe a Xhaka, Roca, however they want to play it. So I think that's the way we're going to go forward.
All right, Dean, again, so many rumors. Let's go to the back now. We talked about Hector. You talked about Hector. It's been very pleasing to see him step forward, seemingly regain more confidence, throwing his body on that run. that was something we questioned, was his, he had that horrible concussion a couple of years ago, and we talked about whether he was back mentally, whether he had it in him to throw his body in. He seems to be coming back, but then stories immediately after the Cup in some of the major papers that he was one of the players, veteran players that Arsenal might be willing to sacrifice. And then a story this morning or today from Italy that Roma is discussed or has expressed an interest in taking him on there. Or actually, I read it, he's been offered to Roma. Talk about that a little bit. And if Hector is being shopped, this is a topic we've been kicking around all day. What does that mean for cover at right back? Is the club confident with Cedric? And does that mean that a guy like Ainsley Maitland-Niles becomes the right-sided version of what Bukayo Saka was on the left side for this club?
Yeah, so obviously, first of all, there was, as you said, there's been stories around, obviously, the fringe players that the club are happy to sort of, get offers for or see go somewhere else and get first team performances and games under their belt and stuff. But then there was this talk of if, a bid worthy of Lacazette and Hector Bellerin came in, the club would think about it. And now there's this talk of Roma wanting him. But you have to sort of ask yourselves, A, would he be happy going to Italy? B, would they be able to, would they value him the same way we value him? Because I still think we could get a decent amount for him. He's not older, so he's still in his, mid-20s, low mid-20s as well. He's still very good. A lot of people are saying since his injury, he's been finished or he's not running. But I think he just had to get back to himself, and we saw the better side of him in the cup final. So again, though, I think it comes down to the value of Roma and Arsenal. But I also think if Arsenal really are looking to take something for him, these stories of us offering him out, and if we are offering him out, could be to signal a possible bidding war. Now, take that away. Say we do sell him, and your other question, are we happy with Cedric? I think we could be. I remember saying when we first signed him when we took him permanently, that I feel that if he did work his hardest, he could possibly oust Bellerin from that starting spot. I could see the club being comfortable with that. Ainsley backing him up, possibly. Maybe even bringing Jordi Osatutu in to train with the first team, see what he's got to maybe give. I know he played a little bit further forward at Bochum, right wing back, right mid, right wing. But I still think he could probably give Ainsley some competition for that reserve backup spot there. Yeah, personally, I don't feel Bellerin's going to go, though. Just my personal. If we really did want to bring down, I think you mentioned it before today, if we did want to bring down some of that kind of net spend, selling someone like Bellerin after we've done our deals, could bring that down. But potentially, I feel he could stay another season at least, personally.
And again, so many of these players have come back up. Another name, I have Thomas Partey listed here. There hasn't been any Thomas Partey news since the last pod. I just like to say the name Thomas Partey because we know, he's the guy. It's almost like we just say the mantra, Thomas Partey, and then we go from there. But let's talk about another name, Sam. You and I were discussing Mustafi. We're talking about the outgoings because, again, if we're linked with so many big center backs coming in, some people have to go out. Obviously, we've talked about Socrates is almost certainly gone. Mustafi looked like a player who's going out. Rob Holding looks like a player who's possibly going out. He's been gutty, but we know in that final he had a lot of trouble with speed, handling speed. It's not a time to get sentimental with the center backs you have, is it?
No, definitely not. Mikel knows by now the limitations of our centre backs, and quite frankly, they're not good enough to play the system that Mikel wants them to play, whether it be 3 at the back or whether we're playing 4 at the back. And as I've said in previous pods, I think we're going 4-3-3 next season. So if we're going 4 at the back, that's going to leave one less centre-back spot. So you're looking at Rob Holding, as you say. I reckon we could potentially put him out on loan. But if a sizable bid comes in for him, I think then we can say goodbye to Rob. But if that is the case, we would have made quite a decent profit on him, considering how much he come for. Socrates, he's going to go probably for a nominal fee. I'll probably say about 5 million tops. Mustafi, he's an interesting one now because obviously he's played well throughout Arteta's time here. Unfortunately, he's out injured now, and this injury isn't going to be resolved until October. Coincidentally, that's when the transfer window ends. I think it's October the 5th. So I think with Mustafi, the club's got one of two options: either get him to sign a year's extension just so that we can protect the value to sell him in January when he's got that time to recover from the injury as well, or potentially take a hit on his transfer fee and say to clubs, look, he is injured at the moment, but here's his injury file. This is how long we're expecting him to be out for. A medical, the clubs will ask Arsenal for a file anyway for a medical. He can do a preliminary, but then it's just whether or not the buying club wants to take the risk on the current injury. So if he does go, I think we'll probably take a hit on the transfer fee. But if he does go, it's another centre back off the books, and it's again one that it hasn't been good enough at his time at Arsenal.
And another player to add to that, because he's still on injury, he's still returning. Is probably on the same timetable as Mustafi's Callum Chambers, right? That's another player who could bring a fairly decent return once he's available, although that might be in January.
Yeah, even if it is in January, obviously he'll have October to potentially January to see where he slots in Mikel's plans. If he doesn't slot in that time, clubs will be looking at him now for a potential bid in January anyways. Even if he was to go out on loan, as we've discussed previously, it's going to take Callum another year to rebalance his body minimum. Can Arsenal wait a year to 18 months for him to get up to his best? Will he be back to how he was previously? My personal opinion on Callum Chambers is good for a utility player, but we've got that now in Maitland-Niles. We don't need another utility player that plays in and around the back. So for me, I'd be looking for about 15 to 20 million for him, possibly in January. With the negotiation team that we've got, obviously if we can get rid of a YB for close to 40 million, 35, 40 million, then I'm sure we can probably do the same for Callum once he's up and running. Well,
I'm watching Fulham over your shoulders as you're talking. Callum Chambers was very important to Fulham when he was on that year loan. And if they come up, I'm just wondering if that's a team that might be possibly interested in going back for him if he becomes available. But there should be a market. He's English and he's still fairly young. He's not mid-20s, getting on the wrong side of 25. But if you're going to move him, now's the time. Ryan, quickly, one name that hasn't popped up. It seems everybody on this roster has popped up in speculation, but we have not heard the name yet of Sead Kolasinac. But that's a player we've talked about is a guy who could have real potential market value if this club needs to balance its books with all of the possible moves that they're considering. Is he a guy that you anticipate being in the Arsenal squad when the new season kicks off?
No, I think he will probably go as well. I'm just throwing it out there. It might not happen. It might happen. But I can see Milan going for him if they sell Theo Hernandez to PSG. Because Milan wanted him when we signed him. So to put in 2 and 2 and make him 5 there, if they sell Theo Hernandez to PSG for whatever it was, 35 million, I think I saw, I can see us potentially going to Milan and Ivan Gazidis and be like, hello, nice to see you again. Take him for 20 million, please.
Yeah.
So, I don't think he's good enough to play for Arsenal. He's just not defensively aware. He lacks the concentration, lacks the on-the-ball basic ability. So hopefully he goes as well.
All right. And, so many targets that we've been kicking around. Dean, you started us off with the Guendouzi rumor. I'm going to let you finish off with a rumor that was hot and then cold, and it seems to be simmering up again. Let's go back to Portugal. Let's look at Jolson. Arsenal apparently made a bid early this week after all the talk that they were going to. They made a bid. It was knocked back. It seemed like a lowball bid. It seems like the negotiations are just getting started for him. But it does, in fact, appear that Arsenal's interested in this kid.
Yeah, so the bid was apparently around, I think it was 20 million euro or something of that nature. Clearly, that's over more than half what his release clause is reported to be. Allegedly, they're just testing the waters. They're just trying to see, because they believe that despite the release clause being there, that's just a sort of watertight figure there. That's just like a hold in place. And Arsenal reckon that there is going to be a number where Sporting are kind of going to look up and go, okay, we need this. We're going to take this. So 20 million they started with. They're going to keep trying, so say these reports. And the last one was that if it got to the point where Sporting were just going to keep going, no, then they're going to trigger the clause. Now, whether or not they do that, I said this previously, for a 17-year-old who hasn't had really any first team sort of experience to really be gauged upon, to activate that clause, for me is a little iffy. But if Francis Cajagao likes him, then he's got to be good. And if he's got the profile they say, then he's going to be worth it, I think, in the long run. However, going back again, if we're going to be looking to take Willian, for what's being reported, if we're really going to be looking to trigger this clause, it says to me, as we've been saying, that Arteta really does have the backing of the ownership. And we're not looking to,
just more affirmation that Arteta's won the confidence of the board. So let's wrap this up now. Lots of names in play, lots of players going in, lots of players going out. Let's say, what are we going to look for a week from now? I'm going to start, because I always finish it. You guys always take the best fails. Aubameyang this week. This is going to be the week for the extension. And everything on top of that is going to be gravy, at least for me this week. Sam, what do you look for?
I am going to look for some Marc Roca news. I think with the clubs having that week after the cup final, I reckon now there will be some concrete discussions between the clubs, and I think there will be some news coming out especially from Spain regarding Marc Roca and coming to Arsenal.
All right, Ryan, what would really trip your trigger, Arsenal-wise?
So news about Gabriel Magalhães. Hopefully that deal will be sorted out this week. If reports are to be believed today, then we've offered more than everyone else, and we are the favourites. Hopefully, as their president said, he was going to make a decision before last week. He surprisingly didn't make that announcement where he was going, and now suddenly we're an unnamed club that's coming for him. So I think that deal will be this week, and Aubameyang will get his announcement.
Well, on that topic, Dean, I think you posted it on our Saved by the Bellerin website. In the celebration after the match, Gabriel popped in. I forget which player, but one of the Arsenal players was posting celebratory notes, and lo and behold, Gabriel jumped in with his 2 cents. Who was that?
Nico Pepe.
It was Nico Pepe. All right. Well, okay, Dean. So Ryan jumped you in the queue, but now you get to wrap it up. What do you look for in this coming week, Arsenal-wise?
See, now I know why you don't like going last, because everyone takes you.
Everybody takes your topic, right?
I mean, so basically everything everyone else says, I'd like to hear some more about Marc Roca, as Sam said, because that has gone a bit quiet, but I think we kind of know why. It's gone quiet with everybody in that region. So obviously Aubameyang, a bit of Roca, a bit more about Thomas Partey. I really want to kind of. I know that's probably not going to go now into Atletico's Champions League, and a bit more about where some of the fringe players are going to go as well. I know that's not really a big one, but I like to see where some of our youngsters and some of our fringe players are going to go out on loan and things like that, and see what the club are doing about them. But yeah, Gabriel, Partey, Roca, and Aubameyang.
Lots of good news. And so, on that happy note, we want to thank all of you for joining us here on the pod during this COVID break, after the FA Cup today. We know some of you are watching us live. Some of you, tune in regularly, watch the pod when it's on YouTube. We want to thank you for that. Short summer, but hopefully we'll have more good news, more good analysis. I think Ryan said he's preparing some videos of possible targets, the way the team will kind of line up as these new names come into the squad. So a lot to discuss. And again, not that far away. So again, stay with us, bring some friends. It's should be a much, much better journey for the Arsenal Football Club in 2021. So on that happy note, as newly crowned again, once and again, FA Cup champions, we want to say good night to all of you.